Greetings and welcome to the channel. This is a man called Gavar, and I can't wait to share this information with you. I'm so glad you had time to stop by and inquire about true freedom. And if you're a believer in Messiah, as I am, I welcome you to hear my plea to you to truly walk in obedience to our Messiah and take advantage of a limited time offer, not limited by me, but limited by the fact that my perception is there's a mad rush of people who are taking advantage of this. It's been around for a long time. It's been around for over 100 years, but few people have known about it because I don't think the people that created this control system had any idea that this thing called the internet would come along, and it would change the way people communicate, and it would make their remedy, which they largely hid in stacks of legislation and congressional records and obscure House resolutions and joint resolutions and statutes at law, and Code of Federal Regulations, and United States Code, you name it, they buried it. They buried it in eons of paper and confusing language, obfuscating languages like the Messiah said about lawyers, how they tie heavy burdens on men's backs, and they do nothing to lift them up. And those who would enter the kingdom, they prohibit. Because this, quite frankly, this technology that I'm ready to present to the body and offer to train you how to access it, is the key to your being free to serve Yahuwah with all your might, all your strength, and all your being. Because it essentially allows you to not have to work for a living anymore. Imagine that. Imagine what you would do if you no longer had to get up in the morning with an annoying alarm clock, jump in a shower, get soap in your eyes, and drop the shampoo and frustration, and make your cup of coffee, and get dressed and put on your necktie, which is your noose, in my opinion. I used to wear one when I was in sales. I hated it. And then get in your car, which you're making payments to, which you can't even afford. You wonder how you're going to make your bills this month, and you sit in traffic for 2 hours to go to a place you can't stand being, to make money that the government then taxes you on. And then you get home, and you might have enough left to maybe buy a beer or go watch a football game or take your kids out to a movie or something once a month. It's ludicrous right now with inflation, the way things are. I know people are suffering, and I want this information out. And I'm praying right now carefully about how, in the meantime, while I pursue my own remedy, which will take a little bit of time, not much, I think I'll get it pretty quickly, how I can potentially offer my services in exchange for an opportunity to travel around this fine country and meet some of you wonderful Bible-believing, Scripture-adhering Bereans who are going to take everything I say today and test it in the Scriptures. And I believe you'll come back with the conclusion that this is exactly how Yahuwah would do it for his people in the latter days. So we have a pattern, and you've been looking at this verse. I'm calling this message, Choose ye this day whom you will serve. And it's right out of Joshua 24:15. And I gave you a land for which you did not labor, and cities which you did not build. And you will dwell in them, and you will eat of the vineyards and the olive trees which you did not plant. And if it seems evil in your eyes to serve Yahuwah, then you choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. But as for I and my house, Yahushua said, as for I and my house, we will serve Yahuwah. I want to back up and focus on that verse. And if it seems evil in your eyes, what he's saying is, you might think that seems kind of odd, that Yahuwah would take his people out of Egypt, wander them through the desert to get rid of all the sinners and the ones who didn't really believe and didn't have faith. They all died. Their carcasses fell in the desert. But then when they get into the land, they wandered in there and they inherited land that was planted with vineyards and orchards and gardens, cities with walls. And he gave it to them all, and they didn't have to work for it. They just walked in and took it. And he said, everywhere where your foot lands, that's going to be your ground. And I believe in our day, I'm not the one that found this, but I believe in our day, Yahuwah has provided a way for us to do exactly the same thing while we're here in Babylon. We can plunder our captors, as I spoke of in my first message. So without further ado, let's get into the message, because I'm sure you're like, wow, what does he mean, Gavar? I can keep my house, keep my car, keep all the things I have, and I can not have to go to work tomorrow? Well, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. You'll have to continue to work at least for a little while you work with me toward the remedy. But I hope to make people smarter than me. It took me 15 years to arrive at this place, and I hope to make it happen a lot quicker for the people I assist. So let's get on with it. Sorry. Okay. So the question I have for you, Israel, set apart believers, brothers and sisters in Yahuwah, are you serving Elohims of wood and stone? Because it was prophesied back in Deuteronomy that if Israel failed to obey the commandments, they failed to guard the commands of Yahuwah, that they would find themselves one day in a strange land, serving a foreign sovereign, not Yahuwah, and they'd be serving Elohims of wood and stone. And here it is from Deuteronomy, Devarim 10:12. And now, Israel, what is Yahweh your Elohim asking of you, but to fear Yahweh your Elohim, and to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, with all your being, and to guard the commands of Yahuwah and his laws, which I am commanding you today, and this is for your good. Devarim 10:12. And then Devarim 28:36. So Yahweh will bring you and the sovereign whom you set over yourself to a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there you will serve other mighty ones. 8 Elohim, Elohims of wood and stone. Now that's in 28 of Devarim, which you should go ahead and read the whole book. By the way, I've read and reread this book in preparation for the study, and I can't find a single passage in there that encourages us to work for a living. It tells us to serve Yahuwah. It tells us to feed ourselves, obviously. We have vines to tend to and gardens to tend to. We should make an effort to feed ourselves. However, I don't find anywhere where it says you have to work a job or have an IRA or a pension or a retirement fund or even Social Security. I just don't see it in Devarim. And we're told in Devarim to not add to or take away from his commandments. So for those of you who would say, well, we live in the modern times and this is things we got to do. No, I don't think you're understanding the scriptures, brother, sister. I think you should go back and read Deuteronomy about a dozen times, as I have, probably more than that, over the course of my journey in the last 2 years in particular. It's just not there. We're to serve Yahuwah, our Elohim, with all of our, with all our heart and with all our being. Well, if you're clocking in 40, 50, 60 hours a week, how in the heck are you serving Yahuwah with all your heart and all your being? Is your heart serving Yahuwah when you're punching the clock and working for a boss? I don't think so. Examine your heart, brother, and pray about it. And I think you'll come out understanding, after this message at least, that we're not destined for that. And in the latter days, I believe I can help the body of Messiah find a way out of that system of slavery, because that's what it is. It's Mitzrayim all over again. It's slavery. So let's talk about what is an Elohim. What does that word mean? Because it's a foreign word for us, right? People throw around the word God. And, well, God in Scripture is actually the proper name of a Babylonian deity who we are specifically told not to invoke the name of, so you shouldn't be calling him that. So you get that out of your language. An Elohim in the Hebrew language is a mighty one, or source of strength, the giver of life, El Shaddai, the breasty one, the one who provides sustenance, provider of blessings, the source of all your provision. You don't look to the beast system for your provision, for your house, for your home, for your garden, for food to take care of your family. You don't look to the beast for that. You should be looking to Yahuwah. And the one thing I've learned about this journey I've been on, Yahuwah started me off in the garden where I learned the miracle of a seed. And it really caused me to reconsider the magnificence of his seed. The creation, the creator, how he put all the DNA and everything a seed needed in a small itty bitty, look at a tomato seed. Thing is tiny, 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 tiny. And you can make a vine. I had vines in my greenhouse in 2021 that were all the way to the ceiling, 50 feet tall. And they were coming back down again by the end of the season. So that's our Elohim. He is a provider of blessing. He's a source of provision. And what did Yahushua say? About if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, that's a tiny, 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 tiny seed, you can move a mountain. So why do you need a job? You don't. You serve a mighty Elohim, people of Yahuwah. Why do you need a job? I don't have a job. I work. There's no question I work. I'm not saying you shouldn't work, but you should work for Yahuwah and work in his garden and for his kingdom. And Elohim will provide for you if you seek first his kingdom. Isn't that what Messiah said? Seek first the kingdom, and all these things shall be given unto you. So, to have faith, I believe, is to have a belief that your Elohim will provide for you, and he will keep his promises. And if you read Deuteronomy, I encourage you to read it from cover to cover, okay, from beginning to end. And you'll be so encouraged at how many times he says, all you have to do is guard my commandments. He says, be very careful to guard my commandments, and it will be well with you. He'll provide for you. So to have faith in Elohim, in my opinion, is to have enough faith to abide by that, to live in accordance with his Torah, to guard his commands, and act as if you believe. Because you do that, he will provide for you. And that's what this remedy will, I hope, assist you to see that you can do, even in these difficult, inflation-ridden, troubled times in which we live. Oh, I just realized I don't have a camera on. I apologize. Now you can see me. There I am. I apologize. I'm new to this whole OBS thing, so please work with me. I apologize. You should be looking at my punam down here in the bottom corner. And I'll also come back to my full screen to speak specifically as I get down toward the end of the presentation. But, you know, Yahushua said that to his disciples one day, he said, when the Son of Man returns, will he find faith on the earth? And I believe what he's asking us today through that question is, will we find people that are going to step out in faith and obedience to this message that I'm providing to you today? Are you going to step out in faith and believe that there's a way that he has made it possible for us, at least in America, to act as though keeping his commands is the most important thing? And we can do that and still provide for our lives, because we can repeat the model he gave us when he brought his people into Israel, into the promised land. And we could eat from vineyards that we didn't plant. We can live in houses that we didn't build and we didn't pay for. And we can enjoy the abundance that he gave to this great country called America. And even in spite of the fact that we are now a fallen nation in decline, he still provided a way through all that, even with evil. It's the profound paradox of, from good never can evil manifest, but from evil, good can manifest. So how do we act as believers in America? Do we act as though we believe in Elohim? I'm going to leave you with that thought as we close out part 1 of this message, and I invite you to come back for part 2. And the reason I do that, quite simply, is people's attention spans are very short. And if I held your attention this long, perfect spot to leave you hanging and ask you to come on back for part 2, and there may be a part 3. We'll see. The presentation is completed. I just don't know how long it's going to take me to record it. So Come on back for part 2.